All right, so we have another story of an innocent, unarmed black man shot by the police for no reason out of nowhere. And in this story, it is Jacob Blake, and he was shot in Kenosha, Wisconsin, which lies in Racine County. And you can see a video of three officers approaching Mr. Blake as he is simply just trying to get into his car. And they shoot him in the back. You can see it. It's right there in the video. Can't you guys see it? It's right there in the video. It's very obvious that these officers were just evil racist, right? I mean, we all know for a fact that, when cops wake up in the morning, they say things like, you know what, honey, I'm gonna kill me a black man today. Just for no reason, because I really just feel like it. Gonna kill me a colored folk today. The left-wing fanatics, they want you to perceive the cops in that way. And right now, we don't know the complete story, right? It's quite obvious. We don't know the story in its completion. What we have is a video, and we have some statements, we have some reports, we have some details, and we have some history of Mr. Blake. But, as the story unfolds and as new details are revealed, we will learn more as to what exactly took place. But we have an idea as to what took place. We have something of an idea. Officers were called because of a domestic dispute, which is very, very common in the life of a police officer. And the cops go there, and according to reports, they, within the confrontation, according to reports, the officers tased Mr. Blake. Why exactly they tased him, we don't know entirely, but they obviously had a reason as to why they tased him. They had their guns out. Why did they have their guns out? They had a reason. They didn't just pull their guns out because they wanted to kill them, a black man, for no reason at all, just out of nowhere. They had their guns out for a reason, and as details are revealed, we will find out the exact reason why. But the fact that they had their guns out, it indicates that they had a reason. In this whole very, very tense atmosphere against police officers, where it's very, very common for people to say things like all cops are bastards and cops are pigs and evil and racist and all that, in this sort of tense climate where anti-police sentiment is very, very strong, why the hell would these cops just pull their guns out for no reason? It makes absolutely no sense. It's like the people who said that, well, Bashar al-Assad, he just killed kids for no reason at all, just out of nowhere, had his black tea in the morning and told his wife, I'm going to kill me some kids today. I'm going to gas them. Turned out that it was the freaking rebels who NATO was backing that killed civilians with chemical weapons in Syria. But it's the same sort of logic, right? It's the same sort of narrative. Assad just kills kids for no reason. Oh, these cops, they just shoot black people for no reason. So it's obvious that they had a reason as to why they had their guns out. Then they shoot Mr. Blake. They shoot him in the back. They say they shot him 7 times. And his kids were in the car. How shameless and evil these cops are. They're just so evil and racist, and they just wanted to lynch this man. But then you have to ask yourself, after they shot Mr. Blake, they then immediately gave him aid. They had an ambulance come, and Mr. Blake is currently in the hospital. If they wanted to kill them a black man, then why the hell did they do that? Why the hell did they immediately provide him aid? Why the hell did they immediately make sure that he was given medical attention? You have to ask these questions. It's not just as easy as saying, oh, the cops killed him, or the cops shot him for no reason. The cops wanted to kill him. This was attempted murder. Arrest these cops. It's not that easy. Rarely is anything ever black and white like that. There are reasons, there are circumstances, there are very intense moments. People do things. People are in very intense situations where they have to fight back. So they shot Mr. Blake as he was just getting into his car. Mr. Blake just wanted to get into his vehicle. That's all he wanted to do. A black man in America can't even get into his vehicle. Black man in America can't even get into his car. How do you explain that one? Well, here's the thing. Mr. Blake has quite a long criminal record. He has a long history of criminal behavior. And when cops are called into a scene, they are told, hey, this person has a record. This person is possibly armed and dangerous. This person is potentially dangerous. Cops are told things like that. And they know. They look up people in the database. Oh, yeah, this guy again. All right. Better be prepared for some potential violence. So I'm going to read to you guys some details on his history here. It says here, according to Wisconsin Circuit Court Access Online records, a Jacob S. Blake, same age and with an address in the same exact block where the shooting occurred, had a warrant issued for him on July 7th on pending accusations of misdemeanor criminal trespass to a dwelling with domestic abuse as a modifier, felon third-degree sexual assault with domestic abuse as a modifier, and misdemeanor disorderly conduct with domestic abuse as a modifier. Also, in 2015, there was a report that came out of Racine County talking about how Jacob Blake pulled the gun on somebody in a bar, and then when he was told to leave, he exited the bar and he began to point the pistol at random customers from the window. Cops were called in, the cops came, and they had to get a canine to subdue Mr. Blake. So when the cops see Mr. Blake just going into his car, they weren't thinking like, oh, just an average black man just wanted to get into his car. He was going to drive to the library to get that knowledge. That's not what they're thinking. They're thinking, this guy could pull a pistol. This guy could pull a knife. And they're not going to be there to find out. Because those cops have wives and kids to go to. They have families to go to. They're not going to take that risk. If you mess with a cop, there is a chance of you getting beaten up, a very strong chance of you getting arrested. You will get arrested, actually, if you mess with the cop. And there's also a chance of you getting shot. If a cop tells you to put your hands on the steering wheel, and you put your hands on the steering wheel and you leave them there, you're fine. If a cop tells you to put your hands on the steering wheel and you put your hands on the steering wheel and then you begin to slowly pull the hand down, put your hand down, he's going to point a gun at you because for all he knows, you're going to be pulling out a gun or you're going to be pulling out a knife on him. And this is something that is very, very common when cops have altercations with people, with criminals. So you have that. And really, I mean, and I'm going to be very, very straightforward with you guys. Liberals and black activists, you guys need to stop giving so much attention to stories like these. Stop giving so much attention to stories like this because it just makes you look stupid. It makes you look so dumb and cringe. Every time, well, almost every single time, pretty much close to 100% of the time, black activists and lefties pull out stories like this, they end up with their shoes in their mouths. Perfect example is Michael Brown. Oh, poor Michael Brown was shot by Officer Wilson. Hands up, don't shoot. That ended up being a complete lie. There was no hands up, don't shoot situation. And it turned out that Michael Brown, they made it out like, oh, he was this poor innocent black man just shot by an evil white cop. Turned out that Michael Brown robbed the store. When the officer was called, he attacked the officer and tried to pull out the officer's gun, tried to take the officer's gun. Officer shoots Michael Brown. It's justifiable. And then you have this situation where, this recent situation in, I think it was in Atlanta, Georgia. It was Rayshard Brooks. He was in front of a Wendy's. He was drunk off of his ass. He was sleeping in his car in the middle of a drive-thru, blocking the drive-thru. The Wendy's calls up the police. The police come and say, hey, listen, you got a lot of alcohol in your body. You're gonna get arrested, bottom line. It honestly looked like an episode of Cops, just another episode of Cops. Rayshard Brooks is strong enough to take down two officers. I mean, he handled himself fighting these two cops pretty efficiently. He was a pretty big and tough guy. And then he takes the taser from one of the cops. The cops chase after him. He turns around, tries to shoot the cop with the taser. Cop kills him. And what happened? The left-wing fanatic radicals, they began to riot. Why? he pointed the taser at a cop. And then they say, well, tasers aren't a deadly weapon. Isn't it amazing that years and years ago, anti-police activists were saying things like, tasers are very, very dangerous. Look at this video of this poor innocent man on the side of the road getting tasered by an evil cop. Now they're saying tasers aren't dangerous. But all these stories that these libs bring up and these crazy lefties bring up, these stories are BS. Even the Breonna Taylor case, as tragic as that story appeared, even that story is difficult to use against the police. Because, you know, the obvious argument is, well, you know, they broke into this woman's apartment and then they shot her. But then you find out, wait a second, Breonna Taylor was dating a major drug dealer. She had a relationship with a major drug dealer. Then when cops investigate criminals, they take down all the details. They take down who your friends are, your family members, relatives, past girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever. They take down everything when they're investigating a suspect or a criminal. They take down every bit of detail they possibly can. And so they had her address in the database and they thought, well, maybe this guy's in the apartment. They got the wrong house. But even in that situation, the boyfriend takes out a pistol, opens fire on the cops. What do you expect them to do? Yes, they got the wrong house. Yes, that situation should not have happened. But in that instance, when the cops are being fired upon, what do you expect them to do? Of course, they're going to open fire. That story should not have happened. But even in that situation, in the context in which it took place, it is difficult to use that story against the police. So this whole thing about Mr. Blake, believe me, more details are going to come up revealing that this guy was no good. We already have details revealing that. But there's going to be more details revealing that this guy was no good, that these cops were justified. It's another BS strategy of tension to get the lefties up in arms, to get them rioting, so that people can basically become more racist. I think that this is what this is, because the more that these things take place, the more people become racist and the more right-wing people become. It's a strategy of tension to get the lefties to become, to be provoked into violence, get the righties pissed off, and guess what? You have tensions between both sides, and it's going to get people to vote for Donald Trump. If you want people to vote for Donald Trump, riot on the streets. You want people to vote for Donald Trump, keep bringing up BS stories like this one. Because the people who love Donald Trump, they're going to vote for Donald Trump with even more enthusiasm. And the people who hate all this rioting, they're going to say, wait a second, this Biden guy is just another one of these crazy lefties or libs or whatever. I'm going to vote for this Trump guy. So it's just a giant strategy of tension. This story is BS. The attention, the huge attention that's being fixated upon this story is based on BS. And that's the bottom line. Anyway, hope you guys have learned something from this message. Hope you guys have enjoyed this message. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.